Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Bikini and the Brain podcast. My name is Ashley Kaltwasser, and right next to me here is Adam Bonia from TeamElitePhysique.com. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, another glorious Monday to start.
Oh, yes. Gotta love the Mondays. Fresh start to the week.
Yes, I always start off my morning. I say, I'm going to conquer the day. That's what I always me and my dog. I run up because she like follows me downstairs and then runs to my office when I go up the stairs because she goes out on the deck and are you ready, Pippi, to come conquer the day? And Kimber thinks it's the dumbest. She's like rolls her eyes. And Pippi runs up the stairs and she races me to the office. It's so funny.
Aww.
So speaking of conquering the day, conquering every day is going to require some sacrifices.
Yes, especially if we are prepping for a show, it makes it a little more difficult, I guess, when it comes to the things we do throughout the day or the week that sometimes, we got to make some adjustments for. Sometimes we got to let some of the fun things we used to do and the things we used to eat, we got to let it go when it's time to prep. So I think a lot of people have this black and white view of like prep. Like once I start prep, I absolutely cannot have this, and I have to do this. Whereas I think there's a little more flexibility than people realize, a little more wiggle room, little more gray area, depending on where you are in prep, right? So I think it's a nice opportunity to go over some of the things that, you got to make adjustments for or let go, and some things that we can do to kind of, make things a bit easier when it comes to prep, because I don't think we have to give everything up when it comes to, how far we out from a competition. Like we don't have to let every little thing that made us happy go. It's, you just gotta find a workaround.
Yeah, and I think I like that you put it as black and white.
Yeah.
Like people do think it's black and white. I would totally agree with that. And I think that people say as soon as I start prep, my life goes, to the black or to the white, however you want, whichever one it is. Mm-hmm. And then when they're out of prep, they're like, okay, now my life goes right back to the white or whatever it is. So I think that in part is the biggest mistake, because most people, if you're living this fitness lifestyle, you should be mostly kind of in prep already most of the time. Like you're already eating clean. You're already working out an hour a day. You're already probably doing, let's say 20 minutes of cardio 4 days a week. Prep shouldn't be like this dramatic difference at this point. Like you're already working, the working out's the same. There's an hour working out off season, hour working out in season. Cardio will be a little bit more, but it's not like crazy more in the beginning. And then the diet should get, a little cleaner, but it's not like this dramatic life shift where you're like flying to the moon one day and you're eating moon food or you're at home and all you eat is McDonald's. Like that's not how this life should be led. So I like that you say a lot of people think of it as black and white. I'm like, you're kind of always in some, like I have no intentions of ever doing a show, maybe even again, and I haven't competed in I don't know how many years, like 7 8 I don't know 8 years, and I still am like pretty much starting prep wouldn't be crazy. Like it wouldn't be like, oh, my life is so different now. You know, like I wouldn't eat out maybe once a day, but I eat like chicken bowls. So maybe I would. I don't know. It wouldn't be that different, And I think that's where people need to kind of figure out, okay, I don't need this like dramatic shift in my mentality if I'm mostly already doing it,
Right. Absolutely. So let's get into the social life aspect of prep and how to navigate around it. So dining out is something that, we all do a few times a year at least. I would say on average, probably people dine out at least like once every few weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or once a week.
Once a week. Yeah.
You think is average? Probably average.
So you know how your thing with when you found success, the one thing you'll splurge on is like treatments, like massages and things like that. Mine is food.
Okay.
Like that's my only thing I spend money on. The only thing. Like I've gotten to the point now where my shirts are Amazon shirts, my pants are Amazon pants. Like everything I do is like the cheapest thing it could be, basically, if I like it better, And the one thing I'll do is food. And that's always like the big sacrifice, like with Kimber when she's in prep is, but then we still eat out once a week, even when she's in prep. Maybe towards the end we don't, So yeah, that is something that I think is once a week is pretty common for a couple, especially.
Yes. So a lot of people think that they can't eat out during prep, but you actually can. Now, is it easy to eat out? Sometimes not all the time, because sometimes the restaurants will not be as accommodating, or sometimes the type of food at the restaurant just has no healthy substitutions. Sometimes that is the case, but you can definitely make things healthier, and sometimes you can just work it into your weekly macros altogether. So um there's a few ways you can do this. Now, I'm, I'm not a fan of people bringing like their Tupperware and stuff to a restaurant. In my opinion, I think that's a bit much. And yes, that's coming from me. I think that's a bit much.
I
It,
agree.
it's not something I would ever do. And I would never bring a scale to a restaurant. Like when it gets to that point, I'm just like, whoa, that's to me, that's like I said, that's a bit much, in my opinion. But you do you. I know some people will do things like they'll bring their own meat at least or something. Girls will bring little, little things of chicken or tuna or something in their purse. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. But I will say for me, one I guess little workaround that I've found is getting little like fat free, sugar free Italian dressing packets on Amazon, or any little dressing packets. They have them on Amazon. They have them, I'm sure, all over the internet. And you can buy them in bulk and just put them in your purse. So at least you got your dressing covered, if anything, because if you go to a restaurant, most of the time they will have a salad, and most of the time those salads, the most calorie dense part of the salad is the fact that they cover it with a lot of dressing, lots and lots of calories going on top of those leaves. So it's nice to have some control over that. Now you can order dressing on the side, of course, or you can order vinegar and oil and vinegar or whatever, so that at least you can control that and maybe put more vinegar than oil. Or you can do mustard and stevia that makes honey mustard. I do that sometimes. You can do that, and at least you have the dressing, the condiments taken care of. I always ask for things on the side, even with salad, because sometimes if they just throw a whole bunch of cheese on it, it kind of is hard to get off, especially if it's like a powdery type cheese, like grated. It can be difficult to get all that off. So it's nice to have some control of it. So I always just, I will ask for things on the side. I will ask sometimes for a box prematurely, because if it's out of sight, out of mind, if I want to put half of it away, set it to the side, I can do that. Or you can just pick a restaurant that has, options where you can be healthy. Sometimes you can find that, and it's a nice little addition to the restaurant experience. So
Yeah. And then when I eat out a couple times a week at least. And so when I'm at a new restaurant, 'cause I try it, that's one of my kind of, I guess you might even call it like a hobby, is just seeing all these Vegas things. I have this list of Vegas things that's like crazy, crazy long, of because I watch all the social media people and I'm like, oh, I'll try that place. And there's always something new opening up out here. And so I'll go to these places, and oftentimes I'm going alone, like for lunch, and I'll look at their menu and I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it to Kimber, and I'll be like, hey, look, you can eat here when you're in prep. So we have all these little places that we haven't tried that will have like a clean option. So I can eat there and eat my thing, which I still usually eat pretty clean. It's pretty rare I'm going crazy. But there's just certain places you can't go eat. Like Italian restaurants are going to be pretty difficult. So
Yeah.
find things that work, for both. A steakhouse, almost everyone could go to it almost anytime. So just find what works for you, because it doesn't need to be complete sacrifice. And I think that that's where the stress comes in too, from like the relationships and stuff, where you're just all of a sudden your boyfriend or girlfriend, you're like, okay, we're not going to go out and eat or do anything for 4 months. Like that's a hard thing to ask, and it's unnecessary. There's not going to be much benefit to it. Like Ashley said, even, weighing your meat at a restaurant, if you order a grilled chicken breast and you have 4-ounce serving for your menu plan, but if they give you 5 ounces, like you could see the difference. But let's say you're off by an ounce and they give you 5 ounces to eat it. If you ruin your prep because that 1 ounce of meat, like you had way bigger problems of getting in shape than that 28 calories or whatever was in that 1 ounce of meat. Like it's not dramatic. We don't need to be so crazy about it. If it's happening once a week, your margin of error of what you think you're counting your calories accurately as is bigger than that 1 ounce of meat anyway throughout the week. So don't, enjoy it, have fun with it, understand this is going to be long term. And you got to find ways to make this part of your life, you know?
Yeah. I think that's one of the issues too, that people underestimate the amount of calories in foods that they don't have a label for. So, yeah, I mean, if we take a look at, like, let's say there's like a biscuit with butter, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, it's like 80 calories," and it's like, "Oh, nope, just kidding. That was 380 calories." So I think there's a big like disconnect with that too, because we see labels, but when we see just the bare food, we don't really. Our brains are having a hard time
Yeah.
estimating what's in that, because it's always more than what people think. It's never less. It's always more. So keep that in mind. If you have to do some guesswork there, just, I would say, err on the side of caution and assume that there's probably more calories in that than what you realize.
They actually tested that, and an
Yeah.
average person in that grouping was 40%.
Yeah.
40% off. It's just crazy. That's like, I mean, it's like, that's so much. That's so off, you know?
Yeah.
And these were fitness people that they like
Oh,
did this thing.
so they have some like knowledge.
They had a base. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty crazy,
Oh,
right?
geez. Yeah. So that's tricky. I think another way you can work around eating out too is like, hey, keep it like super minimal for the beginning portion of your day if you're eating out. Meaning, I'm not saying skip your meals, but I am saying, like, we can probably do without carbs and fats for earlier in the day, and then just kind of save it for dinner time. But again, it depends on your own scenario, what your coach says. Listen to your coach, not us. So, another thing is alcohol. Now, this is a big part of people's lives. Some people's lives, I should say. And it's hard to make that swap. And I think you could probably still get away with a few drinks in the beginning portion of your prep. I definitely would not recommend that, like 2 weeks out or something like that. It is, it's a tricky food, I guess, because it's like its own macro classification, and it's the worst of them. It really is. It's worse than just drinking pure oil. It's worse than drinking pure sugar. Yeah. So I think that there's ways you can minimize the calories in it, because even if it's like pure vodka and it says like 80 calories, it's since it's like own macro group, I guess. You can assume it's going to be almost more. The detriment is going to be more than just 80 calories, is what I'm trying to say, because it will have an effect on your other foods. But you can minimize the calories that you consume in that. I mean, at least with the mixers anyway. You can do like just vodka water and bring your own little Mio squirt thingy and just make your own little cocktail. You could do rum and Diet Coke with a lime, things like that. And of course, dry wines and I guess are another option too.
Yeah. So just to go into the macro part of it so people get it, So when you look at protein, that's the thing about like macro dieters. There's a lot of things that they don't take into account when you're talking pure macro dieting. So on paper, there's like 3 different macros, and alcohol is like its own macro. So you have your protein, your carbs, and your fats. So protein is 4 calories per gram. Carbs are 4 calories per gram. Fat is 9 calories per gram. And then alcohol is 7 calories per gram, right? So it has its own classification, like Ashley said. But there's different things that people don't take into account with macros as well, because everyone's like, oh, well, it's just calories and calories in, calories out. It's just macros versus macros. And I'm like, no, there's a lot that goes farther past than just what's on the plate. We don't take into account how the body processes it and what's left of the calories too. So there's this thing called thermic effect of food, which is essentially how many calories your body takes to digest that food. So for example, if I have 100 calories from broccoli versus 100 calories from Coca-Cola, they're both the same carbohydrates. Let's say they're both 25 carbohydrates to equal 100 grams. Well, the way my body will, the calories that are going to be left after digesting the broccoli versus the calories that are going to be left after digesting the Coke is going to be totally different. So yes, 100 calories is 100 calories, and it is calories in, calories out at the end of the day, but not when you're going through the digestion process. So now we need to look at what calories are left. And that's what people don't understand, that part. So when you take 100 calories of broccoli and maybe your body's gonna have a tough time digesting that with the fibers, and it's just rough, right? So you're not gonna get all those carbs because your body's using energy to digest it. So it's using carbs to digest the carbs, right? It's using energy to digest it. So because of that, out of those 100 calories, maybe at the end, these are just rough numbers. Let's say your body's going to use 50% of the calories from the broccoli, just to make it easy. And you're only left with 50 calories. But from the Coke, it's 100 calories are left. So you have 100 calories that are available to be stored as fat. So now you take 50 calories from one food that are carbs that are available to be stored as fat or used as energy, and you have 25 calories from the other, from the Coke, that's available to be stored as energy. So you have 50 calories from one, 100 calories from the other. So now which one is more likely to be stored as fat? Well, the Coca-Cola is, because you have all available calories to be stored as fat, right? Now carbs, right, when you take it to the next level, how much energy does it take to store a carb as a fat? Well, you're going to only be able to store a portion of carbs as fat. So maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of the high 70s. I think it's like 78. These are, I know the math on these. I have to look them back up, but I think it was like 78. So 78 calories out of 100 can be stored as fat. So now are macros really the same? When we look at broccoli versus Coke, yes, on paper, every macro guy will be like, yeah, it's 25 macros. Macros are macro. It doesn't matter. No, it does matter. It absolutely matters, because I'm only going to have 50 calories available from the broccoli, but I don't have 100 calories available from the carbs. So after the processed food and after that digestion, after it is available to be stored as fat, how many calories can be stored as fat from the Coke? Well, 78, right? Because there's 100 available. How many can be stored from the broccoli? Well, let's say 78% of 50, which would be, what is that? Like 40? Yeah, it's like 37, 36, something like that. So they're significantly different, right? So that does matter what you eat. So it's not as simple as, oh, just macros. So with alcohol, you can take that to another level, and do the math there, but you can see it's a lot different. Now with fats are very easy to be stored as fat. 98 calories out of 100 calories on average can be stored as fat, right? So what are calories in, calories out the only thing again? Or are macros, do macros actually matter? Well, macros actually matter. What you eat actually matters. So anyone telling you that it doesn't matter isn't going, like, taking you to the next level. They're only saying what's on the plate. They're not saying how my body digests it, how my body works with fats, how my body works with carbs, based on your responses from your check-ins and stuff. So it does matter, unfortunately, and alcohol is going to be one that's going to be really hard to get away with in prep. So a long way of saying it's going to be tough to get away with it. Ashley's synopsis was right. In the early parts, I would say, yeah, go for it. In the later parts, I would try to avoid it unless you're way ahead. Maybe you're someone who's way ahead in prep and you can get away with whatever, then great. You're that person. But for most people, it's going to be pretty hard. So that is going to be one of those hard kind of sacrifices. There's going to be very few of these in this whole thing of like hard sacrifices, but that's going to be pretty much one of them,
Yeah. And there's it's hard to find a actual replacement for that. So, it is tough. So, your overall, I guess, flexibility with your, your meal timing and your schedule will be affected when it comes to your social life, right? Meaning, if your friends want to go out and have dinner at 11 p.m., which is very late dinner, I don't know, dinner and drinks, we'll call it, you're probably more so in the mindset like, man, I gotta wake up tomorrow morning and do my cardio, and I gotta do this and this. So sometimes you're not going to want to participate in that, or sometimes you will want to participate in that, but you know that it's going to affect your following day. So just keep that in mind. You're not going to have that same amount of flexibility you were when you were in the off season. You can't be as spontaneous. You have to kind of have a little more planning, right?
Yeah. So, and then moving on to, like, having different things like comfort foods when you're out with your family and friends too,
Yes.
So, as far as that goes, I guess that would be another hard sacrifice, right? On some of these. So like what I said earlier, like going out to Italian restaurants is going to be difficult if you're going out to eat. So if you're a big Italian family, that's going to be a difficult one. But I have a big Mexican family, and they eat pretty, not as like much fats as like Italians, but they would just make me food. My family would just make me my own, and they would have my own little chicken, and they'd be like, they would tell everyone, "Oh, don't eat that one. That one's Adam's chicken." So I don't know, families seem to be working around it pretty well. And that, like, on that side, they were like hardcore, like not into, like, they couldn't tell you nutrition label, back then, at least when I was 15, 18, they couldn't tell you what a nutrition and all that stuff was, but they still did a good job of making it work. So I guess there it just depends on who's like supporting you or not, right?
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that you're right. There's definitely workarounds on that. And, you can even play around with recipes online for a substitution for your favorite food. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you like that this like low calorie scalloped potatoes is the same as the ones your grandma makes. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say it tastes the same. I do think there's a little bit of a learning curve when it comes to like your taste buds and stuff, though. And I talk about this sometimes. I did like retrain my taste buds, I think, because I don't really have cravings for bad foods these days. I actually enjoy my prep foods and I love the taste of healthy foods. I don't yeah, so I have a good I guess a good hold on my craving. So um it's something that you have to kind of navigate on your own. And I'm happy that we're living in a day and age where there is good substitutions for some foods maybe not so much, but at least like for example, protein bars nowadays, they taste like legit chocolate bars, some of them.
Yeah.
Like, whereas like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I should say, they didn't really taste like that. So be lucky you're in this time where you can enjoy some good foods that aren't coming along with the calories. So it's one of those things. Some foods won't have the same substitutions for, but do your research and see if you can make it work. There's good workarounds these days when it comes to like sugars and fats and everything. So you can have some fun in the kitchen experimenting.
Yeah, I would agree with all that, especially these days with all the knowledge we have, because we used to think as I grew up as a bodybuilder like in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? We used to think that if you cooked chicken, like it had to be boiled. Like it was if you did prep, you had to do white fish. Like it
Yeah.
was we're talking no seasonings. We're like, no, use only Mrs. Dash with no sodium, like real old school stuff. That's just what there was no YouTube channels for cooking. There was no bodybuilding YouTube channel. Now there's like everyone wants to be famous, right? So everyone's doing like their own cooking channel, their own air fryer channel. You see Instagram accounts with 500,000 followers of like just air frying techniques and stuff. I mean, I really don't, I guess because I grew up in that era, right? When someone says, "Oh, prep is hard," I guess that's where I lack empathy because I'm like, it's so easy these days. Like you have there's so much stuff you could eat. It's just so much easier. But like you, I actually don't like the way bad food tastes anymore. I don't know. I could taste the oiliness of it and stuff sometimes. And it's not a psychological thing where I'm just like have like an eating disorder where I won't eat it. I'm just like, oh, it's bad for me. I'm gonna get fat. It's not one of those things. It's like I actually don't like the feel of it. Like when I eat a
Mhm.
steak, I want to eat a lean steak. Like I
Mhm.
like sirloin, even though, or I like the sirloin, but I won't go and get these like T-bone steaks and that a lot of the other people like these New York steaks, all this fat in it. Even though technically that's like one of the better steaks, I don't like the way it tastes. So I think over years you do develop it, just like you develop your muscles in your body. I think you do develop your taste buds. I think you just kind of have them eating a certain way for so long that they just kind of eat that way.
Right.
You just like want it, which is I think if you look at like cultures, that's kind of how it is too. You see like people who live by the ocean and for centuries, like their culture still eats a lot of fishes, like Japan and whatnot, right? You go to like, Mexico where it's like a lot of tacos and stuff like that. Like that's what I want to eat. It's like I think it's just you kind of train yourself to start liking a food for so long. That's what you want. And now
Mhm.
I've done the bodybuilding thing for so long. Now I want chicken breast. I want chicken and I want lean jerky. I think it's
Mhm.
just, yeah, you just kind of, as long as you're sticking with it for a long time, and you're living this lifestyle, it becomes just very, how you're saying, you're like, I like my prep food. Like
Yeah.
I do. I don't know. I'm not even prepping. I like it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'll have my donut here and there. And that's about it, so.
Good stuff. Another thing that you're going to have to sacrifice when you start prep is time, or at least people think so. I think a lot of people exaggerate with how busy prep makes them. They make it seem like it just consumes their entire day, which it does take time. To be fair, it does, but it shouldn't take literally your entire day. The thing is, you'll have to learn how to structure your day properly, routine, schedule. That's all extremely important. Extremely important. So just keep in mind that in order to have a successful prep, a successful like journey to the stage, you're going to have to set aside the proper amount of time to take care of prep and other things. So you might not have the luxury to be as, oh, well, I'll do it when I get to it. I'll get to it when I do it. So just know that if you're already extremely busy, it will take some time. It will take some time out of your day to prep, of course, but not the entire day.
Yeah, I think that goes down to just living the lifestyle,
Yeah.
more than anything. Because, well, I will tell you this: if you're there are some people who mess up their prep because they think of it as a black and white thing, like we were talking earlier, and they think as soon as they start prep, like they're 16 weeks out from a show, and if you do 2 shows a year, you're probably prepping 6 months out of the year. So if you're doing this, this is a big way to save you some time and make your life a little bit better. But a lot of people think when I start prep, I need to do my cardio fasted in the morning. So then they wake up, they go to the gym fasted, they come back home, they shower, they go to their work, they come back, they work out. And then now they added that extra part of their day. You're adding an extra, even if you're just doing 30 minutes of cardio in the morning at starting, you're taking into account the drive, the extra shower, the drive back. Now you're spending an extra hour and a half, just doing things you don't even need to do. So I'd rather give that person their time back, because there's no benefit to doing cardio fasted versus fed. In like 99% of the situations, there's no benefit to it. So I would say if you're already working out and doing cardio, then just keep it the same. Like, it shouldn't take up more of your day to do your workout. Now, when you get later in prep and maybe you had a lot of body fat to lose and you have to do 2-a-day cardios or something, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But we're talking, the last 4 weeks before a show, if you even ever need to do that. So if you think that you need to do that because there's a big benefit to it, like, do your research on it. There is not a big benefit to doing that. So get that time back, get that drive time back, that extra shower that you didn't need to take that day back. And then just do your cardio after you work out. There's not a big benefit to doing it fasted in the morning. So if you're someone who likes to do it when you wake up and you just want to do it when you wake up, that's one thing, but understand you're doing that to yourself. You shouldn't need to do that. So get that time back, and this is all, time is, you're never going to be able to replace your time. So don't waste time if you don't need to. Just do it after you work out. So if again, we'll go back to what I said earlier. If you're already working out for an hour a day and then you're doing, let's say, 20 minutes of cardio 5 days a week, starting prep shouldn't be that much of a difference. Like, you're going to clean up your foods and you might add 10 minutes of cardio in that first starting of prep. So now you're only out 10 more minutes that first week of prep. And then maybe later on you're out another 30 minutes because you're doing, maybe you're doing an hour of cardio, but it's not like a game changing amount of time. Like, all of a sudden all you do is live in the gym. Like, I don't know how that happens. But people talk about it and they brag about it. They're like, working out 3 hours a day, getting ready. I'm like, what did you do in your off season that required you to work out 3 hours a day? Like, why do you need to work out for 3 hours a day is the first question. Like, let's start there. Because, you have number 2 in the world right here who's not even like working out more than an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 30 minutes a day getting ready for the Olympia. So what are you doing at an NPC level show where you need 3 hours of cardio? What did you do in your off season? Let's start there, because that's not something you should be bragging about. If you can work out for 3 hours a day, you're probably not working out hard enough. Like, I doubt you'd be able to work out at a level 10 of 10 more than 45 minutes in a day. It's very difficult if you're giving it your all. So let's look at your intensity. Let's look at what you did in your off season. Let's look at what you did with your diet that required you to get up to that. And let's not brag about it, because it's not something that you should need to do, and especially not for bikini. I'll get there with some bodybuilders. There's some that, it's a different thing, but with bikini, no way. There's no reason for it,
Absolutely. I do think that you're forgetting that it does take time to prep the food, though, and to do some posing, but there's some good news. So with the posing, honestly, yes, you're going to need to practice that. And the closer you get to show, you're going to practice more and more. But I would say, a lot of people overthink it and they make it this big event. Oh, I have to get into my bikinis and put on my heels and stuff and get in front of a mirror. Yes, you do need to do that, but sometimes you can do it just in your regular clothes. Sometimes you can do it like in your house while you're waiting for a phone call. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be in a super a super set up environment situation. You can just do it anytime. Even if you're in your tennis shoes. Now, is it the most ideal? No, but it's better than nothing. Sometimes, like, when I'm getting ready for a show, I'll just Like if I have like literally 30 seconds waiting for something, I'll do like a little routine just for muscle memory purposes. Now, of course, you're going to have to get on those heels. You're going to have to get on the bikini and get your iPhone out and do it that way too, of course. Yes. But even just doing it every once in a while you have some free time, that's good too. And as far as the meal prep is concerned, of course, you can get meal prep company. I use Trifecta; they're great. But if you don't, you can do it just if you have like a few hours one weekend. You can prep a bunch of meals, put them in a plastic bag, throw them in your freezer, and you're good for a few months. Like you can do that. So you're going to have to be prepared is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And your scenario might be different from others, but you have to find a workaround.
See, I always thought, I always did the math on food prep as it's saving time, not costing time.
Yeah, I always thought the same too.
Because if you have someone who preps all their food for prep, let's say throughout the week, then they're prepping usually like a big amount of food twice, which you would never do in the off season though. Mm-hmm. So usually how it goes is someone will prep food in their in season and they'll do it, twice a week, which takes them like an hour or so. And they're like, oh, food prep takes so long. And I'm like, yeah, but you're ignoring the 10 minutes you spend prepping every meal that you do, and you're doing that 4 meals a day normally. So you're spending 40 minutes a day just prepping food, getting food ready, or maybe you're eating out and you're going to the drive-through. You're spending 10 minutes in the drive-through, 15 minutes in the drive-through too. So like there's always time that's used for each meal. Or so it's kind of like either you accumulate it and do it all in one, or you spread it out throughout each meal. But the time, I feel like that it shouldn't change that much. Like that should be another thing that you're changing. The posing though does. That's one I didn't take into account. And posing wise, generally as a good rule of thumb, like 3 times a week, 30 minutes a time, 30 minutes each posing session is kind of like the time. So that is an added. So that's another hour and a half, I would say, posing a week. So there is that. And there's really no way to get away from that. That's one of the intangibles, right? So we have posing, we have alcohol. It's going to be a hard one. It's going to be an intangible that we can't really do anything about. There you go. So it's not a ton of time we're ending up with here.
Absolutely. So energy levels. Now that's one, it is really hard to work around it, but caffeine is your friend. Coffees are your friends. Pre-workouts are your friends. Now, of course, it's just a Band-Aid. I'm not saying that's the ultimate solution to it all, but as you can imagine, as you get low in calories, high in cardio, it's close to a show, you're not going to be as perky and as cheerful and your mood might decline just a little bit just because, hey, you're putting in a lot of work. It's close to the end. You're a little bit over it at this point. You just want to just compete already. Yeah, your energy is going to take a toll. And your strength too.
Yeah. And that's just, honestly, it's just the hard reality of it. If you're in your first prep and you think that you're going to have the energy levels and as you do as your first week in week 16, like it's just not the case. And that's just a hard reality that people have to face. Because I still, I'll get those emails and it sucks because I wish there's something I could do for them. But, you'll get them too, those emails. And you're just like, oh, I'm just so low energy. I'm just so hungry. I'm so whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you're in prep. It's just like a matter of fact. It's like, you're basically telling me that the sky's blue too. It is what it is. We chose to do this sport. I played hockey and it was like, I didn't tell my coach, I guess I really got banged up the last game. Like, he's like, yeah, you play hockey, like you're going to get banged up. It is what it is, So it's like, it's just part of the sport. The sport is dieting. The sport is working hard. The sport is pushing your limits, being sore. Like that is the sport. So I like when people try to get away from it. And I'm like, no, the sport is dieting. Like that's what it is. Like, it's like more than bodybuilding. It's like the actual part of it where you do 24/7 is dieting. That's the sport. Bodybuilding is only an hour of it, but eating is 24, like we're talking 1/24 of it is the actual lifting, which you focus on. So yeah, it is what it is. You're going to be hungry. You're going to be tired. You're going to make sacrifices. But the juice is worth the squeeze, Absolutely. That's the thing. So it's a hard reality that people have to understand because this sport is so tough. And like we talked about in a couple podcasts ago, or maybe the last one, that some people just aren't prepared for everything that it encompasses. It's one of the very few all or none sports. Like most sports, you could just play and you play your hour a day, you practice your hour a day, and that's it. You can eat whatever you want, you do whatever you want. But our sport is like, there's very few. There's like wrestling and like MMA and this one where you have to like make a weight and stuff. Maybe track, I get to make weight and stay a certain
Oh, I
weight.
don't have to make weight,
We're like
but
stay
they
stay
saw
the
it
way.
with just
Stay in shape, I guess.
yes.
Stay in shape, not be, not fluctuating weight, I guess. So like there's very few sports that are so diligent like that. And this one is, you chose to do a tough one, guys. There's going to be some sacrifices with it.
Absolutely. So spontaneity, I touched on it a little bit previously, but yeah, you're going to have a structure, routine, because if you don't, it's just going to go, it's going to go to crap. Your prep's going to go to crap.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to have a schedule with meals, workouts, rest, so sometimes Hugo will ask if I want to go out to eat, but at the worst time. I can go out to eat if you tell me before noon, yeah. But if you tell me at 7 p.m. and I just finished my last meal, yeah, I can't go out to eat. I'm not even hungry. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So you're going to have to know that things will have to have a little more structure to them in the prep mode in season. And maybe it's a good idea to let your friends and family know this in case something comes up so that you can prepare. Same thing with plans. I always have to have a little more of a heads up, right? So that I can prepare. I can't just grab my bag and leave.
Yeah.
And
I will say, coming from the boyfriend side of it, because I can take Hugo's place here, because I just did it this weekend with Kimber. Like the same thing happens with us, which is kind of funny because I'm like laughing about it now, right? Because she just literally just texted me, because I think it makes her a little anxious when I'm like, hey, you want to go somewhere and eat? When she just ate, and she's like, I think she does feel, and this is behind the scenes, I guess, where she'll feel like she's like disappointing me because we're not going out to eat because I asked last minute, which is my fault. That's the boyfriend's fault for sure, for asking last minute. Because I think it was like on Saturday I played a tournament, and a tournament could go all night, but I busted out early. And I was like, oh, you want to go get something to eat? And she's like, well, if you would have told me. And I'm like, no, I understand. Like, this is my fault. Like, I just didn't know when I was going to get, booted out of the tournament. And I'm just, last minute, I'm hungry, saying if you want to eat. She's like, I just ate like 5 minutes ago. So that's, boyfriends out there, understand you're going to run into that a lot when you're dating a fitness girl. They eat every 3 hours or so. The spontaneous, hey, you want to go out to eat dinner, is like an event for them, because they're having to be hungry at that time. They're having to accumulate the calories that need to be consumed at that time. They might have to skip a meal to afford a bigger piece of meat or something like that. So just understand that should be planned, and you're rarely going to get the yes. You're rarely going to time that right where your girlfriend is hungry and you're just like spontaneously just asking them to eat. Like, it's just not going to happen very often. Like, it needs to be planned. So I understand that from Hugo, because I just literally, like, I get that. Just happened. It's so funny because she's like, you got to give me time. I'm like, I didn't even know, so it's funny. So boyfriends, take note of that. Plan it.
Absolutely. Sleep and recovery. Obviously this is a big important piece of the pie here. So you're really going to have to prioritize that sleep and recovery. I know I sure do. I will not make any sacrifices there. I need, like I said, I can go out to eat. I have to be back at a certain time. I don't want to stay out late. I don't want to mess up my circadian rhythm, because once I mess it up, it's not good, as I found out in Kazakhstan.
It gets you.
It
gets you worse than most. You were really hard to adjust back.
Well, no, it was once I came back, it was good, but the week I was away,
just there
to get there,
okay,
yeah. It's like my body wanted to stay in this one.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So you're going to have to prioritize that sleep. That means you can't go out and stay out late. You're going to have to sleep as much as possible again.
Again, back into the scheduling,
Yeah.
The schedule. And that's one of the things I probably should touch a little more on it, but like, get in your schedule, like find a time where you work out and always stick to it. Make that, when you're in prep, that should be your priority. That should be your priority, to hit that time. If you work out at 9 o'clock every day, make sure you're always working out at 9 o'clock, because if you're a 9 o'clock workouter, right, and then you miss it one day, and then you go and you try to work out at 5, you're going to probably have a crappy workout. You're like just not going to be in the mood for it. You're not set up for it. Like, you're just mentally not there. You're just kind of like getting through the workout. So when you're in prep, yes, that is one thing where I'll say, make that a priority of your day. Whatever it is that you usually work out, just make that your time. No matter what happens, don't delay it. Just get to the gym. and make sure you're getting great lifts, because a lot of times what we run into as coaches is someone who's not getting great results because they're not lifting hard enough, or they're just going through the paces in the gym. I would say more times than not, that's the reason that people aren't getting great results. So, and then that results in, when you're not getting great results because you're not lifting hard enough, that always results in lower calories. You know,
Yeah.
we have to make it up somewhere. So yeah, so get those workouts in, stick to your schedule, keep it with intensity, don't let anything get in the way.
So, body image sustainability. Just know that, hey, you look good right now. You're about to compete. You're about to go on stage. You got abs. It's not going to be the look of 365 days of the entire year, right? So just know that there is going to be a little bit of a mental adjustment if you're used to seeing yourself one way and then you start to look another way. And sometimes it is brought on by other people in your life. They will make comments about it, like, "Oh, you're getting too skinny," and then, "Oh, you're looking healthier again. Oh, you're putting some weight back on." And sometimes they'll say it in a good way, but you're taking it like, "Well, oh my gosh, I just competed like 2 weeks ago. You're saying I already look different." Geez, like, so if you're not careful in the certain people, this can kind of get to them in their mind, and it's something that you have to prepare yourself for, because if you know you're already kind of susceptible to this kind of way of thinking, just know that it's going to be amplified once you compete, because you're going to fluctuate a little bit. So hopefully not a lot, but you will fluctuate a little bit.
Yeah, the skinny one's always the one that gets them. People just understand, people who aren't in our world will say skinny as we interchange it with lean.
Yeah.
In our world, if I say she looks skinny, that basically means she dieted too hard, she lost some muscle, she's lean, and she's like skinny, you know?
Yeah.
But in other people, that's like them saying lean. Like I would say, "Oh, she looks lean." Someone who doesn't in the bodybuilding world, "Oh, she looks really skinny." Like that's, so it's not intended as an insult, but it does come off. You do hear that from time to time. People take it always as an insult. Like, "What do you mean I look skinny?" You know,
Yes.
so funny. There was a girl, she like recorded herself, was like pranking her boyfriend, her bodybuilder boyfriend the other day. And like, it was kind of funny, but it was mean. He was in the kitchen, and she goes, just to see like how extreme this is. She's like, "Hey babe, you've been looking a little smaller. Like you look," she's like, "You look good. Like you look a little smaller." He's like, "What do you mean?" Like, she's like, "I don't know. Have you been missing meals or something? Like you look, more like smaller." He's like, "More lean, like more cut. Like, what do you mean?" She's like, "No, just like everything's smaller." She's like, "But I like it. It looks good." And he's like sitting there like, what am I? He's like, "Well, I did miss a couple meals. I guess maybe, yeah, maybe." It's like you can see like everything start, like the panic start in his mind. Like, what did I do? What did I do wrong this week where I look smaller? And that's just, it was just funny to watch it, because like in the bodybuilding context of like being like an ex bodybuilder, like you look at it like, oh yeah, it's so easy to derail. It's so easy to think what people say is like, as you maybe you are missing something, maybe you did miss a meal, or maybe you have been lacking intensity. Like it's so funny like how we just spiral and take it so personally, because this is like, but I think that a lot of times we just need to step back and understand, hey, you can't lose muscle that quickly. Like it's really hard to do if you're lifting weights right. You're probably not gaining that much body fat back if you cared that much. Maybe you're holding a little water, maybe you're a little stressed, maybe all these little things, but it doesn't just derail so fast. I think people really think that now. The only time it does really is in the off season, like after a show and you're eating like a whole bunch, but it doesn't like, it shouldn't happen really, really fastly unless you know why it's happening. But if you're eating clean, like it's probably just a pound or two, but you look a lot softer because, going from, as a bikini competitor, going from 13% body fat to 14% to 15%, still really lean. But the difference of those looks of 13 to 14 to 15 to 16 is so big. But going from 20 to 19 to 18 is not that big. Like the 20 to 18% difference is like, you could barely see it. But from 14 to 15 to 13 is like, whoa, it's like ripped city to like, oh, she's fit. She looks like she could do do a fitness photo shoot. Right. To like 2% more is like, oh yeah, she looks like she's 6 weeks out from a show, 8 weeks out from a show. And it's like it's such a price to pay.
Right.
It's like such a price to pay. It's like, you see these like the sprinters who are like the fastest guy in the world. And the next guy, he's like almost as fast, but he's like 1/100th of a second slower. That's like the difference. Like, it's not that dramatic, but you don't even know who the number 2 guy is, right? So it's like 13% is crazy, crazy rip. 15%, it's like, oh yeah, you still need to get ready for, like, the payment that you pay visually is so much. So don't overthink it, because the payment is so extreme for that, just that 2% from those two. But And so it seems like you gained a lot of body fat back because you're comparing it to looking like 18 to 19 to 20, but it's not the same. So just understand that you're going to a lot to, it's hard at first. I would say like post-show dieting and that whole mentality of gaining the weight back is probably the harder thing than the whole prep, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely. So the last one, financial investment. So this sport is more expensive than people think. And a lot goes into it. A lot, whether it be the coaching, the supplements, the hair, tanning, makeup, suit, show entry fees, NPC card, travel, hotel. Oh my gosh. It adds up. It really does. So a lot of people can get caught off guard if they're not prepared for the number they're about to see.
yeah, it is. You know what? There's some expensive sports out there, but this one is up there. Yeah, this one is definitely up there. So I would say look at everything. I think we've done podcasts before on like the total costs and how to do things a little bit less expensive. And there are a lot of ways to do it. Doing like Ashley's talked about before, like you can do your own tan, your own hair, your own makeup. You can go to Angel Competition bikinis. They have deals on suits. So they probably have one. Do they have one right now? The Black Friday stuff? Probably.
Yeah.
They always have something going on. So, but they have the pre-made suits that are like a lot cheaper. They even have suits that are like, do they have rental or used suits? Yeah. So they have all these options that you can really bring the cost down. But if that's something that's a concern to you, do all the math and do it before you sign up for the show, because you don't want to get surprised by that if you don't have the money. Yes. Although the last thing I'd ever want to see someone like get close to show and then realize they don't have enough to do the show. That would suck. So
Angel Competition bikinis, code Ashley KFit to save.
Yeah, they have great. We've been working with them for a decade at this point, and they have great stuff. They have great pricing. So there you go.
Another way you can save money is you can room with your friends who are also competing. I've done that before when I was broke. You can do shows that are close to home. Maybe you won't even need a hotel if you do a show that's close to home, because some of those faraway shows are expensive. Yeah. And oh my gosh, the international shows, you guys do not want to know the cost of those things. All the travel and plane rides and hotel, all that. So yeah, just some things to be aware of.
Yeah, or come to Vegas and do a show. We have good flights. We have cheap flights because it's Vegas, and we have a lot of hotels that you could stay at that are really cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are a little sketch. They stay at Circus for like $20, but hey, there's a hotel, and then they have some, obviously the crazy ones too, but it's surprisingly cost effective to compete out here. And I think that's why we have so many shows too. It's because people like coming out here, and then they like going to dinner after the show because everything's open, and then they have another day to spend here too. And it's cost effective. So good place to travel is here. There's some places that are like hard to travel to just because the price of it, the flights like Northeast, it's like expensive to get there, and expensive hotels too and stuff. So here's a good spot to just look at the locations too. That could be an option for you.
Absolutely. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Yeah. Thank you for the comments, guys, and happy belated Thanksgiving to you as well.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. It's time. It's a holiday time. It's a fun time of year. Yes. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.